Ooh. All right. Don't fall behind. I know people falling behind. Don't fall behind. Y'all know who it is. The Usain Bolt. The Usain Goggins. That's what we're going. This the Usain. Dr. Inky is the Usain Goggins. I want y'all to understand, don't miss that video. Don't miss that video we did yesterday. Ooh, that was good. Don't miss that video we did yesterday because it was important. You already. It's important because you got to understand the purpose of life. You got to understand you have a purpose, right? And so the idea of health, right? The idea of health, right? The idea of health. The idea of health is, does everything work? Can everything work? Right? Definition of energy, ability to work. Right? The source of our energy gives us the ability to work, the structure to work, the body to work, and the instruction, the inspiration, the creativity. Right? So this is why it's important for us to have had specific conversations building us, constantly building. Right? We're constantly building through the Kinetic Science series and then more specific Kinetic Naturopathy, and we're just constantly adding one piece to another piece to another piece. So it becomes deeper than a trend. Right? It needs to become deeper than a trend. Right? It has to become deeper than a trend. Right? And I think that we establish that when you understand, okay, there is a creator, and that creator is, right, acting through like we can go outside right now and bond. We can go out and bond, right? I mean, there's a point where science hadn't really got there yet. Right? There's a point where science hadn't really got there yet. So I can respect some reasonable split and divide and certain philosophical ideas and religious ideas and things like that. Sure. But we are roughly about 100 years in. Listen to this. It's important. We are roughly about 100 years in to quantum entanglement. And we haven't gotten it yet. Right? We're dancing around it. It's a big elephant in the room, and we just like going around it. Quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement. Subatomic particles. Electrons, protons, and photons. Electrons, protons, photons. Most importantly, the relationship between electrons and photons. That's really where the action is. Like, that's where the action is. Between electrons and photons. And so, again, like we do the dementia book, and halfway through the book, the inspiration, pun intended, right? The inspiration, immediately I have to stop. I'm like, hold up. They need something else. We need something else. Something's missing. We're not getting that ball of gas, right? Which really isn't kind of, ball of gas actually anymore. It's a lot more than a ball of gas, but we throw the hydrogen and helium on it. So, it's like saying that water is only two gases, right? It's two gases that make water, but water is no longer just two gases, right? But if we don't get any sun, right? If we don't get any sun, our bones will start to warp. Our bones will start to warp and bend. Our bones will turn to fat. They'll stop producing white blood cells. They'll stop, all of your immune cells, they'll stop producing blood. Stop producing blood. Like your brain will stop functioning because your neurochemistry, serotonin levels, dopamine, neuromelanin, all that will go down. Your metabolism will go down. Your spine, like it won't go. You slowly go like quantum entanglement. What does quantum entanglement look like large scale? What does quantum entanglement look like on a large scale? Right? Let's think about that for a second. That's a question. What does quantum entanglement look like on a large scale? It looks like your opsins, your globins, respiration, metabolism, heart rate. It looks like your immune system. It looks like your ability to think, memory, memorize, remember. Literally, our relationship with the sun and whatever's behind that, right? Whatever's behind that, whatever's behind the creation of stars, right? Whatever's behind structure of subatomic particles, whatever that is. Okay. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, it's cool for us, right, to have understanding so we can build and so we can build and have understanding and use this information in our life. It's cool for us to stop at electricity, magnetism, you know what I'm saying, light, right? But there are some other things, right? There are some other things. And so now I feel like we can get back into our dementia bag. Man, did I mess that up? Okay, hold on. Okay, I think that's about right there. We're gonna leave it like that. All right, because we got a lot of stuff to deal with. Okay, so I want to go back to dementia. I want to go back to our discussion on tau proteins and dopamine and I just don't want to get so lost in the science. I put a warning on the cover of the dementia book. I put a warning on the cover of the book. It said heavy science in this book. Right? Because one thing that we need to discuss is the batana oil component. I haven't really dedicated enough time to the batana oil component. Just so much foolishness surrounding. It's like every time there's something out there that's really powerful for folks, you know, between the hustlers and the over commercialization, a lot of stuff gets lost in translation. Right. So to simplify, right? Right? Light is carrying information. Right? Light's carrying information. Now, depending on our structure, how our bodies are built and designed, right? Depending on the types of pigments that we have, right? That's going to determine how that information is processed, right? So this is why different types of plants produce different types of nutrition, right? Different types of plants produce different types of nutrition. Different types of nutrition affects our body, right? Differently. So, let's go. Try and make this as simple as possible. All right, put the mic down. Batana oil naturally is the richest source of vitamin A and vitamin E combined. Now, understand that vitamin A, and we've had this discussion before, but I'll briefly recap, right? Just briefly, right? Vitamin A is a group. Vitamin A is a group, right? It's a whole group. It's a whole bunch of different vitamins that are classified as vitamin A. So it's not just one thing. The problem is commercial interests, right? Business. Commercial business is about spending the least amount of money and getting the most amount of return that you can on the least amount of money spent. All right, so if I'm making a synthetic vitamin, if I'm making a vitamin, least amount of substance that qualifies as vitamin A and market that as pricey as I can, right? So this is why when you go to the vitamin store or your supermarket, or even now, like CVS, Rite Aid, places like that, they have vitamins like eye vitamins, for instance, right? And when you get the eye vitamin, on the back of the vitamin, when you look at the list, it'll say zeaxanthin, lutein, retinol or carotenoid, it'll have 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of vitamin A, but they'll be listed out so that they can charge you, $40 a bottle, $60 a bottle. Vitamin A is probably the most expensive vitamin alone by itself that's on the market. Yeah, vitamin A. Let's look and see what I'm talking about. Let's look at some vitamin A's, just so we can see what I'm talking about. Let's go to Amazon and let's type in vitamin A. Let's do a little perusing. Right, let's look at some vitamin A's. Right, you see these prices here? And the IU is important. So these here are 25,000 IUs. Look at this. For $20, right? 25,000, $20. Now this is 10,000 IUs for $10, right? Now let's take a look at these and see what's in here. Bulk supplements. Okay. All right, now this is retinol palmitate. Hold on, where you going? Why do you keep doing something else? We want this. All right, this is retinol palmitate. Right, retinol palmitate, 25,000 IUs. Can y'all see that good? Yeah. 25,000 IUs for $20. Now this one over here is also vitamin A, but this is beta carotene. 25,000 IUs. Right? Now, what is retinol palmitate? And what is beta carotene? Like what are they? I mean, we know that they're vitamin A. But what exactly do they do? Right? What exactly do they do? Right? Let's look around at some more of these. Right? All right, so we see now, look at this one. This one is $7. $7. 25,000 IUs right here. Beta carotene, gluten-free, non-GMO. Interesting. 60 days worth. Hmm. 10,000 IUs. So 10,000 IUs is typically about $10. We're going to say around $10. We see some of these is lower than 10. And we see typically 25,000. Okay, this is 10,000 for about 20. But on average, we see that the 25,000 is between $15, $20, right? And this is vitamin A. Okay, all right. Okay. So let's do this, right? Let's jump over here and let's see what the lutein. Okay, hold on. Okay, now the lutein just went up. The lutein just went up. Now we're in about $25, $26, right? Okay. This one, $10. $26. Okay, interesting. Okay. All right, now let's go with let's see what the cost is with like all of them combined into one packages. Right? Now we start getting into the $30, $45. Okay, now we're starting to get crazy. Now this is $50. Right? Now it's starting to get crazy. Right? $44, $30. Now we're starting to get crazy. Right? Limited time deal, $24. 2 month supply, $21. Right? $119. $119. Now, mind you, the only thing they're doing is remaking specific plants, roots, trees, and the only difference is when you get in the natural source, you're getting some combination of, and we talked about this, 8 different types of vitamin E. 8 different types. right? Now I have to assume, right? I have to assume that nature, that God, that the way things are designed, I'm supposed to have all of those vitamin E's, right? Because when I get them from natural sources, I'm getting all of those vitamin E's. Yeah, I'm getting all of those vitamin E's. The company is not choosing which one I'm getting based on profit margin. Nature has already prepackaged these all together. The vitamin A, I need all, right? Especially when you find out, when you get deeper into this pigment conversation, right? And I've been in this conversation for a long time. What is this? I've been in this conversation for a long time, right? I remember back in the days, Jewel Pookrum put a book out. And I was mad at myself because I didn't get the book when it was like $15 or something like that. At least not initially. And then she stopped printing them. And her book, Vitamins and Minerals from A to Z, I think it was something like that. That book was like $900. Then I think she republished them and the price dropped back down, and I grabbed a couple. I grabbed a couple at that point. I'm thinking, hold on to these, right? But even she didn't know at the time. Right? I think we are the first people to really publish vitamin A's effect on pigment cells. Right? So I think we're the first people to publish that. Vitamin A's effect on pigment cells. But vitamin A regenerates pigment cells. Vitamin A regenerates pigment cells. Vitamin A kickstarts neurogenesis. So think about it like this. And it's interesting, right? It's interesting how it works, right? Because we know palm trees, right? And this is from palm trees. This is palm oil. A very specific type of palm oil. So it's batana, right? But the batana trees, quote unquote, are palm trees, right? So this is equatorial region, right? This is why I showed you. That's why I showed you back in Kemet, right? That's why I showed you back in Kemet what they was on, right? Hold on. I showed you what they was on. Man, hold on. Oh, that's not in this book. Okay, hold up. That's in the Medicine book. That's in the Batana book. But it's probably worth showing again. You need to see it. 1,000 more times, maybe 1,000,000 more times. You need it to be burned into your memory, because it's interesting when you think about everything that we've been discussing. It's interesting, right? It's interesting. It's interesting. All of the different things that we could extrapolate from that picture. When we think about our health and how our health is so dependent on the sun, right? How our health is so dependent on the sun. How our health is so dependent on the cells that directly are responsible for translating light in our body, right? That's the pigment cells and the neurons. It's beyond miraculous that in that environment at the equator, we have plants for that produce nutrients that regenerate those tissues, the pigments and the neurons. So now we're talking about dementia. And dementia is a problem with your pigments and your neurons, specifically the pigment in the neurons. Yeah. So it's one plant, and the extract has nutrients that rebuild the cells. That's one. Two, it has another set of nutrients that's not only responsible for getting rid of inflammation in your cells in general, but specifically in these types of tissues, right? Because that's what they work in, the electric potential space, right? In the electric potential space. That's most active in your neurons, just in case. Just in case somehow we're not on the same page, right? Literally, that's what neurons are known for, right? The electricity, the electromagnetism that they generate via membrane potential, right? Resting potential, they're at, negative 70 millivolts, give or take. And, the chloride and the calcium and the sodium comes in and regulates the potential. And yeah. So vitamin E works at that space. Vitamin A regenerates the tissues. Right? In my mind, sometimes I skip over stuff because it's not even that deep. It's like, what's the problem? Oh, but see, the difference is, in order for you to be able to eat this, you have to have a real high quality source. Yeah, because we're not putting this on our hair and you doing like before and after bald spot pictures. That's not what we're doing. This goes into my drinks. This goes into my smoothies. You know what I'm saying? This goes into salads. This goes into soups. It goes into food so we can eat it. Right? That's what they do all up and down Africa. All throughout Africa, right? They have the worst numbers in terms of, I think it's ApoE. I think it's ApoE. The ApoE mutations. Yeah, I think they have the worst levels of ApoE mutations, but at the same time, they have the lowest levels of Alzheimer's and dementia. How is that possible? Well, they have the highest consumption. They have the highest consumption per capita around the globe. They have the highest consumption. They eat it. Yeah, some of them, they also wear it, you know. Also, like me, we also wear it, right? But if the batana oil gets low, I done yelled at my children on multiple occasions. Ah! Don't take my batana oil out the kitchen. Yeah, because if it run out in their bathroom, then they'll try to sneak to the kitchen to grab something to put on their face or their legs, or depending on what time of the year it is. Like, don't grab my batana oil out the kitchen. That has to stay in the kitchen. We got to eat that. Now, if y'all done overdone it and then loaded it, hey, we got to. I almost had to put them on like batana allowance in here. Like, hold on now, you. All right, now we getting okay. Here, look, this is for the girls. Y'all take this. Here, Chase, you and Caleb, y'all take this, and don't nobody touch mine. Don't touch. Don't come in my bathroom and touch mine. Yeah, and don't take the one out the kitchen because we gotta eat that one, right? Yeah, because if I don't have enough, the one in the kitchen, that one got to get replenished. The ones in the bathroom, we might have to go without batana for a little while. Yeah, we might have to go without batana in the bathroom for a little while. But in the kitchen, we're not going without batana oil. Are you crazy? Yeah, like Inky, you be putting out a lot of books back to back. What do you? Right, you have to have brain food. You have to have brain food. Right? You have to have brain food. All your children is on the honor roll. You have to have brain food. Yeah, you got to know how to combinate up the batana oil, with the bananas or the coconut water. You got to put that together. Yeah, that's a genius. That's a genius snack, real quick. Like, take this, take that, boop boop boop. Oh, test today. Okay, cool. Here, couple bananas, some coconut water. We done replaced the old school cod liver oil back in the days. They used to give you cod liver oil for vitamin D. We ain't doing no cod liver oil. Just saying. Vitamin A, pigment, and neuron regeneration, right? Because there's one thing we have to know how, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's how your body's efficiency mechanism runs. For maximum efficiency, if you don't use it, you lose it. So if we're inundated in synthetic light all day, you're not using your pigment tissues. We done already went through the scientific papers that shows what happens. Your neuron loss gets exponentially, it goes through the roof when you graduate school. And then for the people that graduate school and continue studying and learning, it doesn't happen until you stop reading. The moment you stop reading and studying, your loss of neurons and neuron function goes through the roof. Why? It should. Think about it. It should. Your neurons use up too much sugar, too much oxygen, too much ATP. If you don't need them, yeah, think about it like a bill. You got to think about it like a bill. Yeah. Imagine having 100-bedroom house. Only thing is, each one of these bedrooms, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the lights have to be on inside these rooms. You know what kind of electric bill that'd be? And then you lived alone. Immediately you would have to downsize. Like, no. I can't pay for gas to heat up all these rooms and electricity to light up all these rooms. Like, what am I don't need all that. I got to downsize. Or like, you know, when you go like 5 years or 10 years and you be subscribing to stuff on your debit card and you turn around, you got 2-3 gym memberships on there you don't even use no more, or different TV stations, you know, Netflix and this and that, whatever. You got all these different subscriptions on your card. You got to delete. You just go to the bank. Yeah, I just need a new card. I lost my card. Give me a new card. I got too many subscriptions on this thing here. I don't even know what all these people, they hand out every, I don't even know who these people is. I got to delete all this. That's what your body is doing. If you do not have this book, go ahead, take your empty hand, since we're talking about palm, right? Take your palm and at a very fast speed, bring your palm into contact with the side of your face. Just kidding, right? But seriously, you really need to understand this is like an operating manual for your brain. If P, then Q. If you don't have this book, go to Amazon, add it to your cart checkout, right? Because we really can't, like, you have to get this material to fully grasp this dementia material. And we need to really be able to, like, the same way we beat diabetes into submission, we need to be able to put dementia in retirement. We need to be walking around with the heavyweight, you know, like we need to put dementia on our belt, right? We need to put dementia on our belt. Like, yeah, we We whoop diabetes. We whoop cancer. We whoop dementia. We whoop, like, we need to put the, we might have to get t-shirts made that says we whooped. I'm gonna have to talk to Ezra. I ain't talked to Ezra in a minute. I'm gonna have to hit Ezra up. That's a new t-shirt right there. We whooped. All the things we whooped. You know what I'm saying? We got to get a t-shirt together with all the things we done whooped. Put dementia as the newest, latest op. Right? But we got to get this. Because it's important to understand how your brain processes information. Right? I think yesterday we kind of did, I got some good feedback from the video yesterday. So I know some people had mindgasms. You know what I'm saying? Some folks' minds were blown yesterday. Right? Some folks was still like, so Ink, what was you? I didn't understand. I'm like, that's all right. That's why we got all the books. You just need a little bit more. But some folks was on the verge already. And yesterday was like, oh, I get it. Right? But you have to get these concepts down in terms of how your brain is processing information, right? Because that's what dementia comes down to, right? Your brain isn't able to process information, and it isn't able to store information, and it isn't able to retrieve stored. So it's not able to process new information. It's not able to store new information, and it's not able to retrieve information on demand, right? A lot of times we haven't even really analyzed what it is we ask of our brain, right? So just from a nutritional standpoint, right? It is incredible. Like it's it's magnificent. It's miraculous. Like there's not enough adjectives to give enough praise on how, outstandingly wonderful it is to just have one thing. Right? One thing that you could just do anything with it, right? It doesn't have to be anything special, right? So your children don't have to know, or like your husband or your wife, they don't have to know all this. All you got to do is just put some of this in their drink. Yeah, you don't actually have to, they don't need to understand all the books to know that, you're just going to put a little batana oil in their smoothie. It doesn't have a taste, so it's going to, whatever the smoothie tastes like, it's just going to continue to taste like that. It's not going to taste like, strawberries, blueberries, and batana oil. The batana oil is just going to be a silent, silent partner, quiet investor. It's just a silent investor. It's just going to increase your ROI, right, on your time invested, your attention spent. Right? Your sweat equity is just going to increase your ROI. Okay. All right. But I want you to just understand, though. I want you to connect. I want you to connect the ritual with the science. That's a big thing that we need to do here. That's a big thing that separates us from everybody else, right? I want you to be able to connect ritual with science. It's not just for your health now. It's for your mental health. It's for your ancestors. It's for your legacy, for your future progeny. When you put respect on your ancestors, you build a stronger future for your children, 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 children into the future. That's why a part of putting you in poverty, listen, a part of putting you in poverty today is destroying the memory of your ancestors. It's a very important piece to the puzzle. Just boop, put that puzzle piece. A very important piece to the soul story. Making your ancestors look like idiots. Yeah. Making them look like idiots. Right? So you have to understand that the rituals, right? Now, trust me, I took an oath to fight against superstition and ignorance. So a part of that is recognizing ignorance as superstition. Another part of that is being able to recognize what may look like empty superstition because we haven't attached the science to it yet. Or maybe we haven't educated ourselves enough on what we're looking at to see that there's science associated with it. Like something like this. Right? Because this right here would look crazy. This right here would look crazy. This is like classic definition, right? Like if we didn't know any better, we could take that picture and put that next to pagan. And be like, ooh, is that person worshiping dirt? Or are they worshiping dirt or worshiping trees? Like, what is that? See, that's what is that person doing? Right? What are they doing? Looks like an idiot, right? I mean, yeah. Until we find out a few things. Until we find out why we're dying today. Until we find out why we're dying today. Right? We're dying. Like literally, not figuratively, like literally we're dying today. Because we have broken these rituals, right? And the ritual is just about putting reverence, praise, appreciation on that structuring force, that organizing force that puts something like this in our reach. Put something like this in your reach. Right? Scientists, listen to this. I want you to understand some stuff, like just clarifying. When scientists are doing their research, right? I want you to understand this because this is powerful when it hits you. Scientists have never, ever, ever, ever invented a treatment for anything. Like doctors have never invented a treatment. Never. They discover. I want you to understand the difference between invention and discovering. Right? Because as we're saying that, there's no such thing as God and those types of concepts, right? We just have to keep certain things in mind, right? When we go through the Kinetic Naturopathy series, especially the Ebers Papyrus series, right? And we talk about all of the medicine, which is pretty much all of the world's medicine, comes from plants, right? If it doesn't come from plants, it comes from single cell organisms, right? Bacteria, algae, et cetera, right? That means that all of the quote unquote healing tools, right? There's another intelligent source that's created them. We're just discovering what these things do, right? Like, for instance, most people know vitamin A is good for your eyes, right? A man didn't create vitamin A. He discovered that vitamin A was good for your eyes. But who invented vitamin A? Oh, the plants did. See, that's a rabbit hole. Now, because we grow up and we get rid of the child side of ourselves that has infinite amount of whys and whats, we stop somewhere along the line. I never do, because I answer to children. If you look on the books, I partner with children writing the book. So I don't even have the ability to stop. I have to keep going with the why and the who and the what. Okay, so where'd the information, like how'd the plant get the information? Okay, well, the seed, the plant came from the seed. Okay, well, how did the seed get the information? Like, where does the original information? Because children are just patient and they just look right at you. They just eye contact. They just look right at you and they just wait patiently for you to answer. Go ahead. So the plants came up with the vitamin A. The plants made vitamin A. Okay, well, how did the plants make it? Okay, well, see, in the plant's genetics, the plants I don't know what that was. Battery is right. Internet reception is right. Who knows? Maybe that was just a reminder. Right? Who knows? Maybe that was just a reminder, right, Tika? That might have just been a reminder, like, hey, it's that time. Inky, you're going over the time. Inky, you're going over the time. Yeah, that might have just been a reminder. We give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light and our breath, and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the fine olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the Jed pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter closes. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and our caves. Amen.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. I first ditched big wireless and started using Mint Mobile way back.
Don't you dare. Yo, they mad disrespectful. They are so disrespectful. Right? They're gonna try to slip a joint in. Right? They're gonna try to slip a joint in. Like, hold on. No means no. No means no. Okay. All right. See, this is why this Constitution book, if you don't have the Constitution book, please go to Amazon. Add this to your cart and check out. Not just this book, but also one of our pocket-sized books. You have to go get this biochemistry book. You got to get this biochemistry book. Otherwise, right? Otherwise, you're going to continue to be plagued. And here's what I mean. You're going to be continuously plagued, right? Let's take a look at these tau proteins, right? Right. Now, here's the tau protein issue, right? You have a couple of different things that you go where we go wrong with the tau proteins, right? So the first thing, and I probably shouldn't even put this up here because I know it's going to be some herbal hustlers that's going to grab this and they're going to run. When I say run with this, oh, they're going to be Inky said, but just know Inky said NRF2 system. Inky said monthly detox, right? Inky did not say get hustled. But here are the problems. We're going to list these problems, right? Here are the problems with your tau proteins, right? Heavy metals, right? There's tons of paperwork that you can go through in terms of aluminum and mercury and all kinds of stuff. We're going to just go heavy metals, right? What else? Tau proteins. Alcohol. Right? Alcohol. Alcohol messes with your liver. Right? So alcohol messes with your liver. Liver how can I make this in a way where it can really hit? Your liver is literally like, so back in like the Greco-Roman era, we're still in the Greco-Roman era. What am I talking about, right? But the classical, the liver, right? The liver, and you know what's funny? From our talk yesterday, the origin of the word liver comes from Kepler. Yeah, Kepler. Because remember, liver is like the euphemistic term. In science, they don't use liver. They use hept, right? Hept. The same way, like, so yeah, we might have to do this for a second. We might have to do this for a second, digging out our chemet bag for a second. What is this? we might have to dig in our Kemet bag for a second. So in Kemet, right? This right here, what we know of, the KH, right? In Kemet, it's just an H. Or in the metal netter, rather, it's just an H, right? And so when you go through translations, they got different types of H's. You know what I'm saying? They got H's with dots under there. They got H's with, you know, like angry face lines, you know, the upside down U, right? Then they got the H's that have the straight line under it, right? So they have different H's, right? And so when you go through the translations, the original translations, right? This is what you have, right? That's the original translation for this, right? The H translates into the KH, and then they add in vowels. They add in vowels. So like when we was talking about Kepler yesterday, remember I was like, well, you know, the English translation is Kheper. Then you have the more traditional where instead of EPER, it's EPRE. And then some people take it to a EPRI, right? But all of the vowels are carte blanche, if you will. You're adding the vowels in as you will. This is the original right here, right? And so this serves as one letter. The KH is one letter, and then you have the P and the R, and that makes up your trilateral root, right? This is the trilateral root, right? So just going back to the concept of the sun god and the whole conversation we was having, Kepler is kept alive, pun intended, alive, the liver, in your liver. Because Kepler is the god of regeneration, right? And inside your body, the liver was for a long time the only known organ that regenerates itself, right? So because it regenerates itself, it was known as the god Kepler. So hepatitis, you know, hepatocytes, all of that just comes from the HPR root in Kemet, right? Fun facts, fun facts, right? But in Greece, because they are the first group of people to get the hand-me-downs from Kemet, information-wise, right? Some of their stuff was accurate, and they didn't even understand its accuracy. They didn't know why it was accurate. It's just like sometimes your grandma tell you something, she may not even know why she's telling you to do it. It's like, listen now, boy, I'm gonna tell you, drink this tea right here, and you're like, why? She can't break it down to you. She don't know what's in the tea. She don't know what. She just know when she was little, that's what she had because her mama told her the same thing and just passed down. You know what I'm saying? But the liver being the organ primarily responsible for fat, primarily responsible for cholesterol. That makes your liver primarily responsible for the physical structure of the brain. See, the hustle is so deep. Listen, like Hotep Jesus, the grift is so deep you don't even understand. That's why every movie, every TV show, I just be laughing. Me and my children be cracking up. I'm like, yo, why is liquor in this scene? Like liquor is in every scene of every movie. Oh, yo, we got to talk about something. So they just automatically come in with a bottle of liquor. Hey, we got to talk about something. Come on, I got a cup for me and a cup for you automatically because we got to have a conversation. So yeah, that means liquor got to come in. Like yeah, so let's talk about this new business. Let's talk about this relationship. Let's talk about the chores around the house. Let's talk about sports. Let's celebrate you had a baby. Let's celebrate every celebration, every what's a down moment? Every problem we have, we need to discuss with liquor. Every celebration we have, we need to discuss with liquor. And literally, nothing could be further from the truth. Liquor literally hinders your brain function because the liver is responsible for it. The liver is responsible for your brain structure. Literally. The fat and the other part. And the cholesterol. The liver is responsible for it. Go figure. Remember, your brain is fat. Your brain is mostly fat and cholesterol. Right? Outside of that, it's water. Your brain is water, fat, and cholesterol. That's what your brain is made out of. Period. Water, fat, and cholesterol. So, because you have a blood-brain barrier, right, a lot of the filtration supposed to happen right here. Yeah. So, we don't even get to this thing here, right? Amyloid beta issues, amyloid beta plaques, right? Liver. Yeah, you walk away from this video, you should have learned at least one thing. Yeah, that was deep, right? So I take care of my liver, and then the liver takes care of my brain. Yeah, that's how that goes. Right? Brain health. Right? I take care of the liver. The liver is going to take care of the brain because the liver is going to filter out the amyloid beta plaques, make sure I have the healthy fat and cholesterol, all what I need. Right? Now, keep in mind when we put alcohol here, right? I'm putting alcohol there for everybody, but mostly for my Spanish folks. Right? Because alcohol, we can erase alcohol, right? We can erase alcohol and just write in sugar, right? We can take alcohol out and put in sugar because alcohol is liquid sugar. It's liquid syrup. That's what alcohol is, right? And so somehow, I don't know how, but Spanish folks, especially Mexicans, they somehow, the alcohol gets them faster than the sugar does. So they get the fatty liver disease, right? And now black folks, somehow the sugar gets us before the alcohol. We just get diabetes, and then our liver shuts down. It's not listed as a liver problem, right? So you go alcohol, you go straight to a liver problem, right? But you go diabetes, and then the liver problem gets to hide. It gets to be a complication of diabetes. So it's not really like singled out. It's in there. It's tucked in there. It's in the liver failure, the kidney failure, all that's tucked into diabetes. It's up in there, right? You know what I'm saying? But it's not highlighted, right? So, but that's not our conversation today, right? We're talking about brain disease, right? But just know sugar in the liver is up in the building, right? Okay. And then everybody's favorite. Everybody's favorite. I want y'all to repeat after me. Who's that favorite family member that always come to dinner on the holidays that nobody invited? Now, I know it's not just me. Everybody got one family member that nobody invite, but they always show up. Come on now. The dinner is not right. The family function is not right if this person don't show up. Now, nobody invited them, but they're going to show up anyway. Who is I'm talking about? You know who? Herpes. The star of the show. Hardworking. Mr. Dynamite. Soul clap. Yeah. Herpes. See, this is why. And remember, we put out the herpes book, and then immediately after we put out the herpes book, the herbal hustlers went crazy. The herbal hustlers went crazy. Immediately, all of a sudden, they had new herpes protocols. Now, the people who got this book, they was laughing. Because you just watching the internet go crazy. All of the healers all of a sudden and folks is hitting me up like, yo, Inky, I just seen such and such did a video. It looked like they got their whole video from pages such and such and such and such. I'm like, what we gonna do, right? But if you don't have this book, Soulcraft, the lab work, herpes versus leukemia, go to Amazon now and put this book in your cart and check out, right? You have to have this for all things virus, not just herpes, right? Because I was just talking with one of the brothers this morning about the bird flu, right? The avian flu. For all things virus, you have to have this book. It just so happens that the reason I wrote the book was about herpes and leukemia. But you have to have this book. I'm telling you, like, ready to slam this on the ground. Like, I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it on the floor to make sure it's broke. Seriously. And I know y'all probably at home like, see, Inky be going too far sometimes. Herpes? Tau proteins? Listen, when I wrote that book, and we had the herpes conversation, everybody was shocked into fear. Like nobody wanted to even discuss the things that we had laid out in those series of conversations, right? The fact that everybody has herpes, at least 2 to 3 different versions of it, right? Everybody walking around, because most herpes is transmitted by children's toys and all kinds. That was a wild conversation we had to have. Family, though, family. We had to have that, family. Family. We had to have that conversation. But I told y'all, right? We discussed Jim herpes, right? Matt herpes. We discussed encephalitis, right? We discussed encephalitis, right? Brain inflammation from herpes, right? Tau proteins, amyloid beta plaque, brain inflammation. See, that's the importance of understanding this terminology. Because if you hear inflammation as the root cause of something, you need to immediately understand that whoever you're listening to, they just don't know what the root cause is. And it's cool not to know. Sometimes all we know is inflammation, right? All we know is inflammation, but inflammation is not really a thing. Inflammation is like, it's a process that's going on, but it's not the cause. Like something causes inflammation. So if all you got is inflammation, that means all you have is a crime scene. You haven't, like, you know how the TV show, like they be like, yo, listen, it's serious. We got to solve this crime immediately. The community wants answers. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got a crime scene, whatever. That's what inflammation is, a crime scene. But if that's all you don't got no suspects. Nobody's been arrested for the crime. Well, usual suspect. And what do we know about herpes? The people that don't know anything about herpes, what do they know about herpes? John Q. Public. What does John Q. Public know about herpes? Well, John Q. Public has heard about herpes, that herpes hides where? Come on. You got this. You already know this answer because everybody knows this answer. People that don't know anything about herpes knows this answer. Herpes goes dormant where? It hides where? Where does herpes hide? Where does herpes like to be at? Like, where does herpes neighborhood? Where does herpes act? What is herpes doing? Come on. I know y'all know this answer. Yeah. Let's get the super chat popping, the cash app popping. Let's go. Come on. Wake up. I know y'all know this answer. They say herpes goes dormant where? It goes dormant in this place. It hides in this place. Right? All kinds of terminology. The nerve cells, right? Herpes goes dormant in your nerves. And so herpes hides in your nerves. Herpes goes latent in your nerves, right? We knew that for, as long as we've known about herpes, we've known that. That's public. Everybody knows that part, right? Did we forget that nerves are neurons? Nerves and neurons, the same cells. Only difference is location and size. Typically, in our brain, we think of neurons, right? The little tiny, tiny ones. If they attach to the spine and they kind of like bigger, we go, okay, yeah, those are nerves. Same cells. Same cells. But see, the thing is, we thought that the blood-brain barrier blocks all microbes and all of that from getting to. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But see, we thought blood-brain barrier stopped the 1, 2, 3. Remember, we came up with our own slang for it, right? So we could just say the 1, 2, 3. Right? The 1, 2, 3. Forgot? Come on, y'all gotta remember. The 1, 2, 3. Bacteria, yeast, and virus, or bacteria, fungus, and viruses. Right? The 1, 2, 3. The 1, 2, 3 gets everywhere in your body. There's no such a space that the 1, 2, 3 is not getting through. Why do you think there's such a conversation slowly popping up? So here's the thing. They got to slowly like try to like, like they like slowly work it. Like, so it'll be like a big lie, like barbed wire gate. And what they'll do is they'll try to like get around it, like slowly slip, right? So instead of saying the whole blood-brain barrier thing is misinformation, right? That's a lie. It's incorrect. It's outdated. Because then you got to go back through a zillion different school textbooks, throw them out. You got to throw out all the school textbooks. What they do is just invent another conversation so they can discuss the things that they need to discuss while leaving that other conversation alone. So we're going to leave alone blood-brain barrier conversation, right? And over here, we're going to discuss gut-brain, gut-brain. Gut-brain. What is gut-brain? Like, what is that about? What is that about? Well, remember, they said that the martial arts people was pseudoscience, right? Because the martial arts people said you had the Dantian up here and then the Dantian down here, right? They said they was making that up. That was pseudoscience. And then like 5 or 10 years later, they said, oh, well, we have located a cluster. We've located a large cluster of neurons throughout the digestive system. So it seems that you have a second brain, that you have all these neurons. So it's really not gut brain. It's really not gut brain. It's really brain. It's really just nervous system. It's really just your nervous system. Right. But the problem is they got to rephrase it because you got this lie sitting there. So they got to come up around it, And all these crazy things they already said, like back in the days when they were saying, slavery was okay because we're monkeys and cavemen and Neanderthals. Then the tests come out. Black people don't have Neanderthal DNA. Only white folks. They go, well, Neanderthals was intelligent and they, and I'm like, it's crazy how these conversations need to be reworked every so often. Like, that's where the thing, we watch us. Get it? Your children are watching us. That's why we have to watch our mouths, right? Because the thing that we say about our neighbor, that's why it's do unto your neighbor, right? That's what those ways of living, those teachings are about. Do unto others as you, because what you do unto others might wind up being what you're doing to yourself. So you say all this crazy stuff, they come to find out. So now we have to have a gut-brain axis. Oh yeah, there's a gut-brain axis. No, it's not. It's just an extension of your nervous system, right? That they talked about in Kemet. In Kemet, you had the Ib, right? The Ib, which was the heart. And then you had the Ra-Ib, which was the digestive system, the nerves, including the rib cage and everything in there, right? So the larger system of neurons was the Ra-Ib, right? And then you had the Ib, the heart, right? It's already in the books, written down, right? So once we know that herpes has some sort of affinity to the nerves and the neurons, it's low-hanging fruit. But I know it's crazy to hear. See, I know it's crazy to hear, but it's low-hanging fruit. Hold on. We're just going to deal with this real quick. We're going to deal with this real quick. Just one time for the family. Right? Let's hit the share button. Just right, because I know how y'all like to receive the information. Right? So here we go. Let's just look through. Look. So you can see what I typed in. Just so you can see what I typed in. And then you see what's here. Right? Medical news today, February 2024. Overwhelming evidence for major role of herpes in Alzheimer's and dementia. Or let's see exactly what it says. Overwhelming evidence for a major role of herpes simplex virus 1 in Alzheimer's. Herpes viruses may contribute to Alzheimer's disease. This is a few months ago. This is what we're talking about. This 2 months ago, this came out. This 2 months ago. This is 2 months ago. Research from Cleveland Clinic's Genome Center outlined the pathway human herpes simplex virus 1 can use to cause Alzheimer's disease in aging brains. Listen, I told y'all, if you don't have this book, Herpes versus Leukemia, the Soulcraft lab work, go to Amazon, add this to your cart, check out. I told you, I said, yo, there's no such as thing as viruses just chilling. There's no such thing as that. Even if we understand the concept of a virus dormant inside your cells, right? Post-replication or even pre-replication. Just them being there, right? Because remember what a virus is, right? You either have RNA viruses or DNA viruses. So you have this foreign genetic information just inside the cell chilling. It's just in there chilling. Now, you have to pick your poison, right? Because on one side of science, they say that viruses are not conscious. They're not intelligent. On the other side of science, they say they are. You got to figure out what you want to do. Because if the virus is dormant inside a cell, that means the virus is conscious. And at some point, the virus can decide to come alive and do whatever. Or if the virus is not a living thing, it doesn't have intelligence or consciousness, then that means the virus is inside the cell and it's up to the cell to decide when to run that program represented by the viral strands of genetic information, right? Just common sense for me, though. I'm like, hey, there's no way that we got like thousands or just millions of strands of this genetic material just inside your brain cells. It's inside my nerves and my neurons. And what is it doing in there? It's dormant. I don't even know what that means, bro. Like, what do you mean dormant? A seed is dormant, right? A seed, like a vegetable or plant, a seed is dormant. Then you put it in the soil, it's still dormant. The magnetism from Earth, the negative ions, the bacteria, the water, the light, something. So all of them together, one of them, something initiates the programs inside that seed to start running. And then pretty soon, boom, it's busting out the seed and now it's ready to go. right? Like tragedy said, resurrect through the birth of my seeds and live again. Right? So I'm just saying, here's the paperwork, right? Here's the work. Here's the work right here. The Alzheimer's Association. Human herpes virus associated transposable element activation in human aging brains with Alzheimer's disease. Human herpes has been linked to Alzheimer's disease, but the underlying mechanism remains unknown. Listen, this is why I be telling you, you have to get your monthly detox, right? Like you got to get the kit, because this is what I'm saying. It's stuff, your body is a whole universe on the inside. It's stuff that's just going on up in there. Yo, it's stuff that's just going on up in there. You don't know what's going on up in there, and them folks don't know what's going on up in there. They just know when something stops working, then they try to patch you up and get you going again. You know what I'm saying? When your brain stop working, then they start taking a look to see if they can cut you open, right? Can we cut something off? Or can we add in a chemical? What we got chemicals, we got knives. What we doing here? Should we use the knife and the chemicals? Like what? Knives and chemicals don't always fix complex tissues. Let's just respectfully say that knives and chemicals don't always fix complex tissues. Okay. Yeah, there's that. Right? So that is a real thing. Right? And the correlation seems to be, right, depletion of neuromelanin, right, and accumulation of these plaques, right? Depletion of neuromelanin and accumulation of the plaques, right? So aging brain, you see they saying it's the aging brain. So what's happening is the herpes is there always. Remember, the herpes is there from age 2, 3, 4, 5. When you start going to daycare and first grade, second grade, you're getting the herpes, right? That's passing around from your buddies and all that. So you have 2, 3 different forms of herpes from childhood, chicken pox and all kinds of other different forms of herpes, right? From childhood. Right. So now through your adolescent years and through your adult years, you don't notice any impact on the brain. But as you get older, now you start to notice an impact on the brain. So what are the things that are impactful, right? The things that are impactful are losing neurons, right? So the number of working neurons in your brain drops, your brain shrinks, it gets smaller, right? So you're losing neurons, right? You're losing neuromelanin, and you're gaining more and more plaque, right? So those are the 3 major changes that make your brain susceptible to that family member that nobody invited to the function anyway. Nobody invited them anyway, but they here at the function. So we got to figure out, you going to make them a plate or what you going to do? Are you going to make them a plate? You going to make them a to-go plate? Like, what we trying to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they sitting at the kiddie table or they at the adult table with everybody? What we doing? Right? They here. They at the function. Now, what we going to do? We're going to make a big scene what are we going to do? They here, right? So we can't, like, after this video go off, pretend like this didn't happen. Like we just didn't find this out. Like we don't know this. Because this is the second time we coming back around to this conversation, right? And remember, this is where we started the conversation. Remember? I don't know if y'all remember, but we was talking about encephalitis, right? We was talking about encephalitis when we had our original series of herpes conversations, right? We talked about herpes getting to the brain, right? Because it loves these neurons. It loves neurons and pigmented cells, right? That's why it goes from where? It goes from the nerves and the neurons out to the skin. Goes from the neurons out to the skin. Well, what's in the skin? The pigmented cells. Remember, science is going to have to agree with me one way, shape, form, or fashion. They're either going to have to concede that neurons are specialized melanocytes or that melanocytes are specialized neurons, but they come from the exact same stem cell group and everything else. So, functionality is the same. Shape, structure, geometry is a little different, but function. Anyway, we have to wrestle with these guys, right? We have to wrestle with these guys. So I'm just showing you, you got to get these books. You got to do your homework because, you're going to be behind. Now look what I'm showing you here. The tau proteins. The tau proteins, stay focused. Aggregation of phosphorylated tau protein contributes to neurodegeneration in the brain. It is commonly seen in patients with Alzheimer's disease, as is the presence of active herpes simplex type 1. 2 studies show that tau aggregates are induced by active HSV1 infection in brain tissue. Amyloid beta and tau anti-threat response to herpes simplex virus 1 infection in primary adult murine hippocampal neurons. Growing evidence supports a link between HSV1 infection and Alzheimer's disease. Although Alzheimer's disease is clearly a complex multifactorial disorder, an infectious disease etiology provides alternative therapy opportunities for this devastating disease. Understanding the impact that HSV1 has on mature neurons and the proteins most strongly associated with Alzheimer's disease pathology may identify specific mechanisms that could be manipulated to prevent progression of neurodegeneration and dementia. Right? You like that the beat, right? Ooh. Okay, now hold on. We need some space for this. We need some space for this. Herpes done scared some folks off the live stream. yo, some folks are scared to even hear the word. They don't even want you to talk about herpes. They feel like herpes is going to infect them through the live stream. Oh my goodness. My people are dying for lack of knowledge. All right. Heavy metals, right? So let's have the heavy metal conversation. We're going to leave y'all herpes alone for a second. I said, y'all herpes? I thought you said everybody. Okay, our herpes. Listen, I told you, it's the family member. Nobody wants to. Like, yo, that's your cousin. No, that's your cousin. No, that's your brother. That's your auntie. Listen. Heavy metals. Heavy metals. Who is in the heavy metal family? What are the nasty guys in the heavy metal family? Who are these guys that we need to deal with? I think in this conversation, right? I think in this conversation, right? This is probably public enemy number one. Aluminum. You bring your crew in them. I'm doing them. Then I'm beating them down with aluminum. And I'm putting 2 in them. You can't touch me. I've been wondering for a lot of other things, but that's irrelevant. What is that? Just a random Locks verse just popped up in my mind. I don't know where that came from. Who else? Right? Who else? Lead. Cadmium. Who else? Because y'all be telling me about the chemtrails and all that, right? The chemtrails is going to get you, right? What else is in the chemtrails? Right? What else is in the chemtrails? What other heavy metals is in the chemtrails, right? That's really not in the chemtrails. It's really in the food supply, but it's cool because if you start saying it's in the food supply, then you're messing with folks' money. So they'd rather you say it's in the chemtrails because then it's in the sky. It's not related to like the chicken at the supermarket or whatever the case may be, right? So it's just, yeah, the chemtrails is getting us. It's getting us. Right. It's not the Pepsi. It's not the Coca-Cola. It's not the chicken, right? It's the stuff in the sky. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Right? So, heavy metal. Heavy metal is another cause of dementia. It's another cause of tau protein, plaques, amyloid beta plaques, the whole, kit and caboodle. Right? So how do we address it? Right? How do we address it? We address it with Kinetic naturopathy. right? Kinetic naturopathy, right? When you get that monthly detox kit, it's in that liquid. In that liquid. In that liquid, you're gonna have some cheat codes, right? Because see, here is the op. Here is the op. This is how they go. This is how all mineral elements goes. They flushes one another out, right? They flushes one another out, right? So you get some aluminum coming in, some silica has to go out. And now the things that silica would be doing in your body are going to stop being done. And this is where one of the main toxic effects that we know of as aluminum comes in, because it blocks silica function. It blocks silica receptors, right? Aluminum. So what do we need to do? We need to make sure we're getting right. What about lead? What does lead do? What's the ops for lead? Right? What does lead do? Come on. Lead has some ops. That's why lead is especially dangerous. Lead is especially dangerous. You bring your crew in them, I'm doing them. Then I'm beating them down with aluminum. Come on. Iron and selenium. Yeah. A lot of the solutions are just in the natural food. And we make the natural food more robust by adding in the supplementation, right? Whether it's some herbal extracts or some herbs. This is all we're doing is adding in, right? Now, when we add in selenium, what I want you to understand with selenium, even like silica, even iron, right? I want you to be able to scale up the idea, right? Because with silica, silica has a large role to play in what? Your hard tissues, your bones, your collagen formation, right? With iron, iron plays a role in your neurons, right? Your neurons, your hemoglobin, your myoglobin, right? So anywhere that iron plays a role in tissue formation, right? Right? Even in the electron transport chain, right? So this is how lead kill you quick, because it's going to accumulate and stop you from being able to breathe. Yeah. When the lead attaches to the iron receptors, it's a wrap, right? Selenium, on the other hand, selenium forms lots of enzymes and selenoproteins. Some of those enzymes have antioxidant functions or redox functions. Some of the selenoproteins have enzyme, antioxidant, redox function, right? So I just want you to be able to right? Don't think it's like it's one thing. You know what I'm saying? And we put selenium down. Selenium best hits, right? Selenium, 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 right? Dylon. Who's your favorite rap? Dylon, Dylon, Dylon. Right? Barium. Right? Barium. Right? There's a lot of elements that's not necessarily heavy metals that roll with the heavy metal crew just because of their toxic effect. Right? But potassium flushes out the barium. Or barium may very well flush out your potassium and you may not feel it. Your kidney will feel it. You know, your cells, your energy will feel it because your sodium, potassium ion pumps, right? So when you have a nutrition dense, right? When you have a nutrition dense diet, when you have a nutrition dense supplementation, a lot of these things that are environmental toxins, like think about this, they're environmental toxins. We would not be able to exist in 2025. We would have died a long time ago if our bodies didn't already have ways of getting rid of these toxic elements. So the toxic elements are not the problem. Toxic element accumulation is the problem. Why are they accumulating? Because we're not going outside underneath the sun. We're not eating the food, the fruits, the vegetables, and the grains that's grown outside underneath the sun. Getting the residue from the solar winds as fertilizer in the ground. Like we're not taking that stellar dust, right? The stellar dust. We're not consuming that stellar dust. Right? Heavy metals. Unless you're like literally eating condensed amount of heavy metals, your rate of exposure to heavy metals is problematic only when you turn over. How fast your body gets rid of them is slower than your exposure rate. Well, you speed them up with how fast. He said that was Mace on the DMX. That was Mace on the DMX album? Is that Mace? That must be the song with Mace and the Locks on it. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking the Locks. I'm just floating around in there. Just floating around in there. Right? But so these are the things that are contributing to the defense mechanism. Right? So think of these plaques. Think of these plaques and these proteins as forming a secondary barrier. Like you got blood-brain barrier, which is supposed to block stuff from getting into the brain. Think of like, you know how the saying goes, if you want something right, you got to do it yourself. Think of your brain getting frustrated. Think of your brain getting frustrated. Like, So you just letting anybody. I used to do security at nightclubs. Me, little old me. I used to do security at the front door in nightclubs. And depending on what's happening at the door, you got head of security. They might be floating around somewhere. Or the manager. Well, if too many different things is going on in the club that don't look right, the head of security and or the manager is going to come to the front door and, how is this getting in? How did this get in? How did that get in? How did you let these people in? You know what? You're relieved of your post. They'll put you on a secondary post inside the club somewhere and take over your post, or they might just fire you on the spot and be like, yo, you out. You good. I got to do this myself. Think about your house, right? Like it used to be only rich people had cameras, right? Now everybody has a camera. So it's like, if the police can't keep a watch on my house, I can get the camera, put it on my doorbell, right? I can give me a doorbell camera. I could watch my house when I'm not even there. I ain't got to worry about nobody else doing it. I'll do it for myself, right? Think of these plaques as like the third little piggy building the bricks to keep the wolves out, right? So when examining the brain and looking at dementia and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, they're noticing these little fences, these gates that are constructed, these plaques. And so the first assumption is healthy brain doesn't have these plaques. Sick brain has these plaques. Plaques must be problem. And that line of reasoning is reasonable, right? Healthy brain doesn't have plaque. Sick brain has plaque. Plaque must be the problem. How can we remove plaque? That's not it. That's not it, right? Think about it. You only need the security system if you're worried about, there's still neighborhoods all over America where people have their door unlocked. There's neighborhoods all over America where people have their car outside unlocked, where people have their garage door wide open the whole day. Their garage door is just open. They got nice cars in there, purses, wallet. Their house is open. There's no crime in that neighborhood. So they don't have to worry about, okay, lock, make sure everything is locked. Check the door. Oh, you ain't locked. Let's go back and make sure the door is locked. They don't have to worry about that. Oh man, locking the doors might not be enough. We need cameras to see because it's not a matter of if somebody's stealing or breaking in. It's just a matter of when somebody's stealing or breaking in this neighborhood. So we got to have cameras around to see what's. So it's not the security system. It's the crime in the neighborhood, right? It's the crime in the neighborhood. That's why we listed herpes at number 3, but I just wanted to highlight a group of undesirables, some juvenile delinquents, some gangbangers, right, in the neighborhood, right, that are causing the crimes, the inflammation that the neurons are trying to block out, right? But it's not just them, because you also have chemical causes of, inflammatory responses and reactions, right? Stuff in the food, glutamate gone wrong, right? All kinds of other issues, dehydration, sugar, problem with cholesterol and fat, right? Then people going on crazy diets, right? Fat is not alkaline, so I'm not putting no fat in my diet because that's not alkaline. Like, hold on. gonna need you to relax, champ. You're gonna need you some fat in order to be healthy. Now, what you need to worry about is the fat that's covering your stomach or covering your heart, because that you want to remove that. But your brain is made out of almost all fat, right? Because you got the neurons, and your neurons have to be coated in fat, right? Just like any other wire. Any other wire has to be covered with insulation. Your neurons is no different, right? Your neurons has to be coated with insulation. That's fat, right? So that's how that goes, right? So you have a diet with no fat in it, you had a higher risk for MS. You had a higher risk for dementia, right? Because the thing that protects your wires, primarily the signals your wires are transmitting, may not get to where they're supposed to go, right? Okay. I think we cooking a little bit. I think we cooking a little bit. See, these are the things that's in this book, right? There's a lot more detail in the book, right? And I'm talking about the dementia book, right? Now, you're going to hear a lot about stuff like this. Right? That's why we have it in the book, right? Because you're going to hear a lot about that. Ketones, right? Ketones as therapeutic agents for Alzheimer's and dementia, right? So, what I need you to understand is that ketones is a byproduct of the pigment system. This is the pigment system protecting itself. That's number one. The pigment system was designed to be able to take care of itself, right? So melanin concentrating hormone goes up, right, with your hunger, because you're no longer, consuming carbohydrates. This is in a keto type diet, right? They leave this part out. In the keto diet, they leave out the fact that when you're not eating carbohydrates, your melanin concentrating hormone goes through the roof, right? And primarily because of, like I said, the racism in the institution, but also because it hurts the keto business. Because if you understand this melanin concentrating hormone that's going up, there's other ways to get that to happen, right? Like just going for 12 or 13 hours without eating, right? If you eat your last meal, right, like 7:00 at night, and then you go to bed, do your thing, whatever, wake up, and you don't eat again till 7 a.m. in the morning or 8 a.m., like regular time, like you just stop eating at 7, you wake up, eat like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning breakfast. You're going to have ketones being produced, and you're going to have autophagy. Now, the beauty of autophagy regarding the brain is it's not going to remove plaques and pigments that are serving a purpose, but it will remove plaques and pigments that are not serving a purpose. So what that means is, as you heal your body and you start to remove the heavy metals and viruses and creepy critters and all kinds of other stuff that is inflaming the brain, as you start to restore the power of the brain, the electricity, right? By bringing up the wattage, very important term, bringing up your wattage, right? We hear the body's electric, but what wattage are you operating at? How about that? How about we start asking people specifically, like, what wattage are you functioning? The body's electric, so what's your wattage? No, yours specifically. Not like in general, all people, but like yours. What is yours at? Yeah, right. We bring the wattage up, right? Because that's the safe space. That's the grace period, right? When we get into the advanced aging, the wattage is going down because we're losing brain cells. We don't study anymore. We don't read. And nowadays, we don't count anymore. We don't remember dates, times, anything like that. We have machines that read for us, think for us, count for us. Like, it's crazy. So all of those things are having the brain atrophy. As the brain atrophies, the wattage, the electricity, right? And so, that may have to be another conversation. We may have to get into this whole electric conversation. That may be a whole nother conversation. I think we just gonna have another type of level of electric conversation.